In the summer of 1994, Hollywood was buzzing with excitement. A new action movie called Speed was about to hit theaters. It starred a young actor named Keanu Reeves and a rising star named Sandra Bullock. On screen, they played two strangers trapped on a speeding bus. But off-screen, something magical was happening. From the very first day of filming, Keanu and Sandra clicked. They laughed at each other's jokes, shared food between takes, and talked about dreams that went far beyond Hollywood. Sandra once said, "He was the kind of guy who made everyone feel safe." Keanu, quiet and thoughtful, would just smile and listen, but his eyes said a lot more than words ever could. People around them noticed. The crew whispered, they'd make a perfect couple. The fans thought the same. But the truth was, neither of them made a move. Keanu, shy about matters of the heart, didn't want to risk losing a good friend. Sandra, full of energy but careful with love, thought maybe he wasn't interested. And so, both stayed silent. When Speed became a huge success, their lives changed overnight. Fame came rushing in, new movie offers, red carpets, flashing cameras. They were suddenly too busy, swept away by the tide of Hollywood. Still, when they met again for interviews, there was always that spark. A spark that never got the chance to turn into something more. At night, sometimes Keanu would think about Sandra's laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about life. Sandra, too, would remember the way Keanu never interrupted, how he truly listened. But in the world of movie stars, timing is everything. And for them, the timing was never right. Neither of them knew it then, but this silent choice, the choice to say nothing, would echo for years. A bond left unfinished, a story that could have been more. After Speed, both Keanu and Sandra became household names. Keanu went on to star in The Matrix, while Sandra shined in romantic comedies and dramas. They were at the peak of their careers, admired by millions. But behind the glamour, both carried a quiet what-if inside their hearts. They stayed friends. Sometimes they would see each other at Hollywood parties or in interviews where hosts teased them about their chemistry. Sandra once laughed and said, "I think about Keanu all the time." Keanu smiled softly, admitting, "She's someone I really admire." The world could feel the truth in their words, but still, nothing happened. Why? Because life always got in the way. Keanu was dealing with personal struggles and heartbreaks that weighed heavy on him. Sandra was building her career, then later, raising her children. Both were kind souls, but the timing never matched. It was like two stars that shined brightly but never crossed paths in the same sky. In 2006, fate gave them another chance. They reunited to film The Lake House, a romantic story about two people connected through letters across time. Fans were thrilled. On screen, their chemistry was just as strong as it had been years earlier. Off screen, they laughed, shared stories, and reminded each other of the bond they once had. But again, it didn't turn into love. Maybe both were afraid to break the friendship they cherished. Maybe it was simply destiny's way of saying, not yet. Whatever the reason, Sandra moved on with her life. Keanu kept moving too, quietly, carrying both his pain and his kindness wherever he went. Still, late at night, in the quiet of their separate homes, they sometimes thought of each other. What if one of them had spoken up years ago? What if one of them had said, "I like you. Let's try?" The questions had no answers. All they had was the silence, and a bond that lived only in memory. Life is full of doors that never open again once you walk past them. And both Keanu and Sandra had walked past that door too many times. It was late at night in Los Angeles. The city was quiet, lights from the tall buildings glowing in the distance. Keanu sat alone in his home, a cup of tea on the table, an old photo of the Speed cast resting nearby. He picked it up, staring at Sandra's smile frozen in time. A warmth filled his heart, mixed with a deep sadness. For years he had thought about calling her. He rehearsed the words in his head countless times. "Hey, I was thinking of you." Or maybe just, "Do you remember us back then?" But every time he held back. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she had moved on. Maybe he had already missed his chance. But that night, something inside him said, "Call." His hands trembled as he found her number. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. His heart pounded with every second. Finally, a voice answered. "Hello?" Keanu froze. It wasn't Sandra's voice. It was younger, softer. "Hi. Is Sandra there?" he asked, his voice quiet, almost breaking. There was a pause. The girl on the other end sighed. "You must be Mr. Reeves. I've heard of you." "I'm her daughter." Keanu's heart sank. He hadn't realized so much time had passed. Sandra wasn't the young woman from the photo anymore. She was a mother with a family of her own. The daughter continued, "My mom is resting now. She's been through a lot lately, but I know she always spoke fondly of you." Keanu sat in silence. His chest ached with words he wanted to say, but couldn't. He wanted to tell her how much Sandra had meant to him all these years, how he always wondered about the life they never had together. But all that came out was a whisper. "Please, tell her I called. The girl promised she would." And then the line went quiet. Keanu sat there, holding the phone to his ear even after the call ended. The silence around him felt heavier than ever before. The call had finally been made, but it had come too late. Keanu put the phone down slowly. For a long moment, he just sat there, staring at the floor. His chest felt heavy, like someone had placed a stone inside his heart. He had finally made the call he'd been thinking about for years. But the moment didn't go the way he dreamed it would. He had pictured Sandra's voice on the other end. That warm laugh, the spark they always shared. He imagined her saying, "Keanu, it's been so long. Where have you been hiding?" Instead, he was left with the voice of her daughter and the quiet reminder that time had marched on without him. That night, memories came rushing back. He remembered the first time they met on the set of Speed, the way Sandra would tease him between takes, calling him too serious as she tried to make him laugh. He remembered the interviews where she would blush whenever someone asked about him, and the soft way she admitted, "I think he's hot." Keanu smiled faintly, but it faded quickly. He thought about the lake house, the way they shared quiet dinners after filming, the way he felt like they truly understood each other. But then the memories grew sharper, filled with regret. All the times he could have said something but stayed silent. All the moments where love could have grown, but fear and timing kept it locked away. Keanu whispered to himself, "Why didn't I say anything?" His voice cracked. It wasn't anger, it was sorrow. A sorrow for a story that never got written, for a door that had closed without him even trying to walk through it. The city outside kept moving. Cars passed, lights flickered, and the world spun forward. But inside his quiet home, Keanu felt stuck. Stuck between what was and what would never be. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and let the silence swallow him whole. Memories can warm you, but they can also burn. And tonight, his memories burned more than ever. The next morning, sunlight poured through the curtains, but Keanu barely noticed. He hadn't slept much. His mind kept replaying that phone call, the moment when he realized that 20 years had slipped away like sand between his fingers. But as the hours passed, his thoughts began to change. Instead of drowning in sadness, he started to reflect on what it all meant. He thought about Sandra, about how kind and bright she had always been. Maybe they were never meant to end up together. Maybe their story was not about romance, but about a connection that shaped them in quieter ways. She had inspired him to laugh more, to live a little lighter, to believe in friendship that lasted even without love. Keanu took a deep breath. Life had taught him many hard lessons, the pain of loss, the emptiness of fame, the truth that tomorrow is never promised. And now, this call had taught him another. Never wait too long to say how you feel, he whispered to himself. Time doesn't stop for anyone. Those words stayed with him. He realized that silence, while safe, often steals the chances we might regret forever. Looking out at the city below, Keanu made a quiet promise. He would no longer hold back his words of care or kindness. If someone mattered to him, he would tell them. If he felt something, he would share it. Because love, whether it's romantic, friendly, or simply human, only has power when it's spoken before it's too late. The world only knew Keanu as a movie star, a hero on the big screen. But deep inside, he was just a man who had lost chances, who had felt heartbreak, and who still chose kindness anyway. And maybe that was the real strength people saw in him, not the roles he played, but the heart he carried. That day, as he stepped outside, Keanu smiled softly. The pain was still there, but so was the lesson. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way you hoped, but it still teaches you how to live better. That evening, Keanu sat by his window as the city lights flickered to life. The phone rested quietly on the table beside him. He glanced at it, half expecting it to ring again, half wishing it would, but it stayed silent, and he knew it would. He thought of Sandra one last time that night. He pictured her smiling, just like she did years ago on the set of Speed. Maybe she was at home now, surrounded by family, safe and happy. That thought brought him comfort. Love, he realized, didn't always mean holding someone's hand. Sometimes it meant simply being grateful that they existed in your story at all. He whispered softly, "Thank you, Sandra, for being part of my life, even from far away." Then Keanu leaned back, letting the quiet of the night surround him. His heart still ached, but there was also peace. He understood now. Some calls will never be answered the way we want. Some stories will never be finished the way we dream. And yet those stories still matter, because they remind us to live, to love, and to speak before the chance slips away. Narration to the audience. Life doesn't wait for us. If someone matters to you, don't wait 20 years. Tell them today, because the truth is, one day the call might come too late. The screen fades to black. Soft piano music plays. The final image lingers. The phone on the table, the city glowing in the background, and a man who has learned one of life's hardest lessons. And with that, the story of Keanu and Sandra, not as lovers, but as two souls who shared something timeless, comes to an end.